Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing fantastic out there. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great, and appreciate you guys stopping by. So, your Miami Heat, they are in the All-Star break. We got rising stars tonight with Jaime Jaquez Jr. We got Tyler Herro in the three-point contest in the All-Star game. It's all happening for us, baby. But I will not lie. On today's radio show, Tobin and Leroy, which you guys can subscribe to and watch on the 560 WQAM YouTube page or Twitch, I was lashing out a little bit today. I was not in a good place. I felt like I had to vent some stuff to my guy Leroy. So I'm not going to do that here. What I want to do is I want to play a clip from Erik Spoelstra from last night. He's trying to make you feel better. You can tell he's very frustrated. You can tell that he's very determined. And basically is steadfast in that the Miami Heat are going to get this fixed. Mind you, right now, they are in the midst of a 4-game losing streak, 5 out of 6. The only team they beat is the Sixers, who are arguably the more pathetic team, the only team in the East that's probably more disappointing, more pathetic than they are right now. But obviously, the Heat have had a lot of obstacles. Like I'm not gonna, ignore a lot of the stuff that they've had to deal with. Montezuma's Galag guts, bubble guts, revenge, whatever the hell they've had to deal with this year on this sickness that has gone through their locker room like a plague. Jimmy Butler stuff has obviously been there as well. So I'm going to do a couple of things here, right? What I'm going to do here in the time that we have of these days, this time off in the midst of getting to the 21st and taking on the Toronto Raptors. We're going to take a lot of looks at things. We're going to look under the hood of the car here. I'm going to start off positive, though, because Erik Spoelstra is trying to give me optimism here. And so I'm going to take him at his word because he is, I still think a great coach, though he has had his struggles this year and has had things that I've disagreed with and has forgotten how many timeouts there are. Ultimately, I ride with Spo. This is a guy who is, I do think one of the best coaches of all time. He is a guy who typically can make chicken salad out of chicken bleep. So anyway, let's get to these comments from Spo last night. This was after the game. When I typically do my game recaps, we don't play a lot of sound unless something crazy happens. But this is what the head coach had to say afterwards.
We need to have our breakthrough. We talked about it. We were actually +7 when they called the timeout, and they went on an 8-0 run. Then it ended up being another 6-0 run. I believe it was 14 and 15 straight. And we just have to be better. We have to be better with our execution, intentionality, with what we're trying to do offensively. I understand it wasn't going to be a lot of precision execution either way because both teams were just switching everything and taking away all the triggers. But intentionality, obviously needed to be better. And then, we always talk about it, that you can alleviate a lot of that stuff with just multiple stops in a row, but it happened fast. By the time I called that timeout, it was a minute and a half, 8-0 run. And we're going to correct that. We're going to get better. We have enough experience with it now. Our guys are fully aware of it. Everybody wants to be better in these situations, when we're up. We'll take a few days off and, I'll get to work. The staff will get to work. We'll do what we need to do. I promise we're going to correct this.
Look, everything in an accountability sense, you can either take him for his word or you can't. But I do think that, look, Spo is typically, when he is direct like that, I tend to believe him. Usually, sometimes this stuff comes out of West Coast trips, and you give him that time. I think typically after All-Star breaks, his team do play better. So I think this reset is going to be good for the Heat overall. I think from a standpoint of, will they end up going on some crazy run? Yeah, probably not, though, dude. Probably not. They're probably not going to do that. But can they get themselves out of this hole? Like Miami now 3 games under. They're going to have to find themselves in a spot where they can rally off 4 or 4 out of 6 or 5 out of 7. Can they get themselves in that kind of position to start climbing the ladder and get themselves out of this hole? And I know there's a lot of people out there. I shouldn't say a lot. I know that there is a growing sentiment of some on the social media platforms that, hey, should we tank? Should we capture the flag? Should we? I'll give a credit to my guy, TC, who does mornings on Kiss Country. He has been talking about capture the flag. He's literally been like that since week 2 of the season. He had no belief in this team. And he's turning out to look very prophetic in all that. By the way, go listen to them on Kiss Country if you guys are country fans. They do a great job every morning, him and Dina B on 99.9. But he has been talking about Cooper Flag, and let's blow this puppy up. Let's get a real star in here. And it's hard for me to argue that the Miami Heat seem like they do need a transcendent talent, even though I think there is good talent on the team. And I do think that some things are good with where they're at right now. Right now, with where they can be. Right now, it feels like we're in hell. Like, that's honestly what it feels like. Watching the Miami Heat night in and night out. You're watching for the other shoe to drop. You're waiting for the run that Spo is talking about. There's been so many 8-0s, 12-0s, 15-1s, 14-2 runs by the other team that just kill all momentum. And how Jimmy Butler had said, like, he's looking for his joy again of watching the Miami Heat. And I'm like, I'm trying to think, like, is the last time that I felt joy with the Miami Heat, was it, probably around the time where they kicked Wembanyama's ass. I was like, oh man, that felt like something. And then, all hell broke loose, and they had the win over Orlando, which I thought was pretty solid. Then, they came back against Cleveland and got their ass kicked. So there haven't been a lot of those moments, which is why the OKC loss felt as painful as it did, because I really felt like if they could have gotten that one, it would have really meant something for this team. So where they're at right now, though, is in a spot where if I want to look at the good going into the season, and I'm going to talk about the bad in other chapters that we upload. I'm going to talk about the bad and the things that have to get fixed. But I just figured I've done enough lashing out for the last 24 hours. Let's get to the things that are good. And the number one thing is, look, Tyler Herro's a f***ing all-star. That's a really good thing for this team. This guy has been through a lot of adversity in his career. He's in a massive shooting slump right now. I got to imagine that he's too talented a three-point shooter for that not to come around. And I got to think that days away after whatever the hell this is going to do him wonders. I know that the coverages are changing on guys and they're really keying in on him. Fine. It's nothing he hasn't dealt with before, though. It's nothing that Tyler Herro hasn't been handed in his career. Does he have to get better at some of it and handling the pressure of it? Yes, I think that that's probably been the biggest question of all of this in that regard. But there has been growth in how he attacks the basket. When there is a weakness there, is he finding other ways? There absolutely have been. And I also just think there's been just an insane run of cold shooting right now for him too. So that's good. I mean, everything about Tyler Herro, this has been a bad 7-game stretch for him since he's been named an all-star, but I do think it can come around. I'm not, I mostly when Tyler Herro throws those things up, I'm faithful that they're going to go in. On the good side of things, you're hopeful that, man, can we get a run where he and Bam Adebayo are playing great basketball together? Because it has kind of felt coinciding with Tyler Herro and his shooting slump has been Bam Adebayo and his ascendance. Bam Adebayo it seems like he's fixed. And the numbers since he has become the starting 4 on the team, that's coincided with Kel'el Ware. The record hasn't been fantastic because in the 11 games, they're 5-6. So there hasn't been like this, vast growth in winning. But overall, his numbers have gotten a lot better, a lot more efficient. They were abysmal before that. I mean, like right now, the last 11 games since they have put Kel'el Ware in the starting lineup, Bam Adebayo is averaging over 20 points a game, over 11.5. He's averaging 11.5 rebounds, 4 assists. His numbers, he's shooting 36% from 3. Not so shabby. Only on about 3 attempts. So about where you'd want him to be chucking them up. He is, getting to the free throw line. Okay. Not like at the, still not at the clip you'd like him to. It feels like there's been games where there's been more of him attacking. You've had some games where he's gotten in the midst of this, against Boston, he had a big game. Orlando, you'd still like to see Bam get there in the bare minimum of 6 times a game. So that to me is like the biggest thing that has to come up. But the shooting has gotten a lot better. Which you feel like it naturally has. He's shooting 50, just a tick under 53%. And so you're hopeful that this is what it's going to be for the rest of the way. Because before that, in the season, before he had moved there, in the games prior, 45% from the field, 15 points a game, or just under 16 points a game, under 10 rebounds a game. That stuff was just all buh. It was a really, really rough stretch to watch from Bam Adebayo. It feels like that is turning around. If they can get their 2 horses to start going together, and can they be the catalyst and carry the torch like, they wanted. They wanted their attempt at, hey, this is your franchise now. You guys got the extensions. Can you do this without Jimmy Butler? Can you do it? That's the big challenge that these guys have ahead of them. That Tyler Herro, you've had the all-star season you've been looking for. Bam Adebayo, you're playing the position you've always wanted to play. You have a big man next to you, an exciting big man that everybody likes throwing lobs to. And I think that's the other positive thing. If we're going to look at the Heat team and say, all right, what's glass half full? What can we look at? Khalil Ware, he looks like something. I mean, that to me is probably the most exciting thing out of this year. And I think everybody would agree. The warehouse being open for business is the most exciting thing that we have right now. There are definitely things that he has to adjust to defensively. I almost wish that he'd play with a little bit more aggression. And almost like a Hassan Whiteside with going for the blocks. Like just go crazy, dude. Like this hesitancy and this indecision, I think it is, I think you figure all that stuff out later with the system. But I almost want him playing just balls to the wall. And I think that'll get him going in a direction of keeping the motor going, getting after rebounds and attacking. I felt like yesterday, what a crazy start for him. And I just kind of felt like it waned in the back. And I don't want this to get to a situation where Spo's like throwing Kyle Anderson out there at the 5. I don't know if my heart could handle that. And then his big man tandem. Like, my favorite thing in all this has been tall time when those 2 guys, Nico and Khalil, started playing together. Now we've gotten some versions of playing all 3 bigs together. I love Nico. He is another guy right now in a bit of a shooting slump. But that he's capable. We've seen a guy for the most part this season has been a very, very capable shooter. It's just right now he's in a little bit of a slump, and that's been noticeable. I would say the last handful of games almost for Nico, it's just been like, oh, he's had the looks. But I think for him, man, he to me is like, in a lot of ways, the biggest wild card on the team. And when he's going right and what he brings from off the bench, I really, really enjoy it. The thing that is, I think, frustrating as Heat fans is you haven't been in a position where you're going to have to go through some growing pains with young guys. It just is what it is. Enjoy the ASMR. But from Nico's standpoint, I do think there's a lot there. I was talking to a scout at the last Heat home game, and he'd actually, as we were watching Nico warm up as it was going on, and it was kind of goosies because Goran was talking to Nico, little brate, before he welcomed Andrew Wiggins, and I was just talking to the guy, and he goes, he saw me there with my camera, and we just started chatting it up, and this scout for an Eastern Conference team, he was just like, man, really like Nikola Jovic. Like, really, I think that this guy's going to be a really good player, which was exciting to hear that. And he had spent some time in Serbia and kind of knows what it takes to come out of there. And he's even seen like guys, the battles there of it, like it getting crazy between rival teams in Serbia. So he has had some experience with guys who have come from where Nico has played. And this guy was just like, I think, he was just saying, like, I think that he thinks that Nico has got some serious talent and is going to be a good player for the Miami Heat. I know that he's a really interesting player. I know that there is times where he can do silly things. We got to remember the age of how young he is. And one of the things that I love about Nico is I do really feel like anything that he does set his mind to, he really does get. He does seem to take leaps. And so I'm excited about that. And I think other people are seeing that and know the potential of that. So we'll see what that turns into. But those four remain the thing I am most excited about with this team. The Andrew Wiggins factor, we haven't really gotten it off the ground. Let's be honest about it. I mean, Andrew Wiggins had to come into his first game. The Heat had to play against a juggernaut in the Celtics. Then he had to play against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then, he gets sick. So it's like you had to see Andrew Wiggins, who had some good moments against OKC. You had to see him against the creme de la creme. It was not the soft open that like Jimmy had with the Warriors. Now, Jimmy has still been awesome with the Warriors. But, even Draymond Green was saying that he thinks that the Heat and Andrew Wiggins can be a beautiful match. He thinks that Erik Spoelstra can unlock him in a lot of ways to benefit Andrew Wiggins. He even claimed that he thinks that Andrew Wiggins can get back to being an all-star with the Miami Heat. We'll see. We haven't really gotten to see that Andrew Wiggins yet. So that's the other positive thing is like, all right, we know that Jimmy for the Warriors already looks like a slam dunk for them. And it's not to say that Andrew Wiggins is expected to be Jimmy Butler, though putting on his number doesn't help. But we don't really know. We don't know what that can be with him locked in, with him knowing the system, with knowing Spo, trusting Spo. And I gotta imagine that's going to be a big part of all of this. On the other end of that, though, Davion Mitchell looks like a Spo guy. And I do think that a lot of what he was hoping for to bring and what the Heat were excited about, I do feel like we've seen a lot of that. Chase down block was sick as hell. He'll pepper in the open shot from time to time. Seems capable on a lot of fronts. So that I'm excited about as well. There are things that are obviously concerning, and I'm going to address that at another time. Probably tomorrow will be the glass half empty on all this. But I've been doing so much half empty, I do need to remind myself some things that I can be happy about with this team going forward. And P.S., the Vice jerseys look sweet as hell. So we do have that at least. If they're not going to play good, at least they're going to look good.